Hello and welcome to Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jai and we're going to be joining you shortly. We want to welcome our viewers across the globe. Tonight we are discussing the Liberian economy with specific reference to the financial sector. This is Zach and Juba, Sweet Liberia. Liberia is the one and only country we have. Let's do everything possible to make it Sweet Liberia. I want to welcome all those joining us. Good evening, this is Focus on Liberia. And before we begin, let's play our Okay, my name is Dennis Jai. We are discussing tonight the Liberian economy and its current effect. With me is my co-host, Danielle. Take it away from me.
Good evening. My name is Danielle Knuckles-Gishard, and tonight, as Dennis said, we will be discussing the Liberian economy. Tonight's guest is Mr. Austin Fallah, and he is quite the student of business, finance, and economics. He has a Bachelor of Science in Finance from St. Mary's University of Minnesota, and also a bachelor's from the University of Minnesota Twin Cities in economics. And he has several masters, including a master's of business administration in accounting and finance from St. Mary's University of Minnesota, a Master of Arts in Public Administration from Hamline University, and he is currently working on a master's degree in strategic management leadership from Harvard University and a Master of Science in legal studies, ethics, and compliance from the University of St. Thomas School of Law. And I believe I missed another degree, the master's degree in software systems from the University of St. Thomas, which he received in 2011. So as I said, Mr. Fallah is quite the student of business, finance, and economics. So we want to tell Mr. Fallah, welcome and thank you for giving us a moment of your time.
Thank you very much for having me.
Right, and as we stated, Mr. Fallah will be joining us from the state of Minnesota, and we are discussing. Mr. Fallah, let's just begin by saying we are discussing the Liberian economy. We are discussing finance. Just briefly, let's start by telling us the difference between economics and finance, with specific reference to Liberia.
Well, finance is a science that deals with the interrelationship of concepts of time, risks, and money. Economics is a science also, but that deals with the production, consumption, and distribution of services or goods within a given society, or a given environment, or a given government, or a given area, a given country. That's what it is. Okay, so as it relates to Liberia, like is the clear states, is our production, our consumption, our distribution of goods and services of our economy.
So for us now, what are some of the institutions that are responsible for these things, especially our financial part of it?
Well, we're talking about production. As you know, that the Ministry of Lands, Mines, and Energy is supposed to be one of the institutions that's supposed to be in the production setting, meaning mining, production. The Ministry of Agriculture is one of them, and the Bureau of Concession is one of the institution that is involved in production. Now we come to consumption. We talked about the Ministry of Commerce. We talked about the Ministry of Finance. We talked about the Revenue Department. We talked about Customs under the Revenue Department. We talked about Internal Revenue under the Revenue Department, because they are responsible for the services, and the Commerce Ministry is responsible for the goods and the consumption of our economy.
Oh, all right. Now, today we want to talk money. There's nothing you can do without money.
Yep.
Even the Bible says money answers everything. So when it comes to Liberia, there have been some issues regarding money. Mainly, it could be price, it could be payment, it could be inflation, it could be whatever. So I want us to delve more into money. Danielle, if you can.
Okay, so we see that over the last few months, the Liberian currency has been depreciating rather quickly. And so we, did our research on our end to figure out exactly why a currency would depreciate or appreciate. Can you tell us what you believe the instance or the issue in Liberia is?
Well, first of all, currencies will depreciate if you do not have a balance in the economy, meaning you're not producing anything, you're not bringing in foreign exchange, so your local currency will depreciate. If you have foreign exchange coming in and you have a reserve, once you have that, then your currency may appreciate. Sometimes individuals can devalue their own currency over the other. So Liberia has two banknotes. We have two banknotes. We don't have two currencies. We have only one currency, which is Liberian currency. We have two banknotes that we made legal, the US dollars and the Liberian dollar. But for us, for our money to appreciate, we must appreciate ourselves. Everything is about Liberia. If Liberians are willing to appreciate their money over the United States dollars, then it'll work. Like you see what happened in Sierra Leone, you see what happened in Ghana, you see what happened in Nigeria. The Naira, the Leones, and whatever money they use in Ghana, they appreciate their money. US dollar comes in, it goes through the banking system. It stays there. They give you local currency. You use local currency to purchase whatever you want to purchase locally, to purchase things from abroad. The bank issue what is called a credit note or a credit communication. Give it to the business or individual. They take that thing to the provider of goods. That provider bring the goods in and inform the bank that yes, we received the goods. The money is released to the vendor or provider of the goods, for which the money was provided. Like that, you appreciate your economy, but we have not come to that standard yet. We look at the US dollar as being better than the Liberian dollar. That we understand, but we have to learn how to first of all appreciate our own currency in order for us to appreciate.
Okay,
and the Ministry of Finance, and Central Bank has to play a role in that.
I know that with the previous governments, they instituted a policy where government employees would receive their pay in Liberian dollars. And also we see there's another policy for when citizens receive transfers from Western Union and MoneyGram, that a portion or percentage of it has to be distributed in Liberian dollars. Do you believe that this is a move in the right direction and would be helpful in appreciating the currency?
It is in the right direction, but they have missed the steps. One, it does not have to be only government employees. It has to be across the board. Every US dollar that comes in the country must be sent through what our banking system. Now, our banking system release local currencies into the economy. If you went to Ray Light to purchase, you're not giving US dollars, you gave Liberian dollars. You went to the store, to a Lebanese man to purchase, you gave him local currency. He's not going to get United States dollars. Once you do that, the Ministry of Commerce will be in a position to stabilize prices. And once prices are stabilized, then you're talking about the economy moving forward. Then people start to appreciate their local currency. But you confuse the matter with one group of people getting US, one group of people getting Liberian dollars. One group of people getting US, one group of people getting Liberian dollars. You confuse the economy. The people with US dollar think they are superior to those receiving Liberian dollars. So the Liberian dollar will depreciate and the US dollar will appreciate. And it becomes very scarce. Once the US dollar becomes scarce, then it becomes what? Then the value starts to go up. Or if it is in the banking system, it is available for business people to go and get and bring in goods, then you have that level of equilibrium within the economy.
So whose role it is to do that in government when it comes to government, and how? Is it through policy making, fiscal policy, monetary policy? How we get that to be done?
You see, that too, people always confuse it. And I see in Liberia, only the Ministry of Finance that is responsible for the fiscal policy of government that is involved in into this policy. We don't hear from the central bank. Well, the central bank is responsible for monetary policy and not the national bank, not the finance ministry. The central bank is responsible for the monetary policy of government. But we see that the Ministry of Finance are taking over that responsibility rather than explain the fiscal policy, which is about the employment, we're talking about other development, and we're talking about the social needs of the people. That has to be addressed by the Ministry of Finance and not the central bank. The central bank has to deal with the regulation of money into the country. Everything that has to do with money within Liberia is the central bank responsibility. How it's spent is done with the Ministry of Finance. But our regulating the banks, seeing to it that the rates are set at a particular level and see to it that money is moved from one place to another in the right direction is done by the Central Bank of Liberia.
So now explain to us the difference between the monetary policy and the fiscal policy.
Okay. Well, let me start with the Central Bank of Liberia. The Central Bank is an independent authority that was established by law, that is to regulate banks and provide financial services. That is including doing some research in economics. And the goal of the monetary policy is to stabilize the nation's, Liberia's currency and keep our unemployment very low and prevent inflation. But I don't see that happening. I see that as happening in Liberia as a role of the Ministry of Finance, which is wrong. It is the responsibility of the central bank of any nation, like we see here in the United States. It is the responsibility of the central bank to deal with, to see to it that our currency stabilized, our economy is stabilized, and our unemployment is low, and they have to prevent inflation. Now, the overall responsibility of the Ministry of Finance, like I said, fiscal policy and economic policy framework. That is one, they collect and allocate public revenues, playing important role in the social economic development of Liberia and creating a society in which citizens and our partners in progress as every prospect of a better and quality of life to live in Liberia. These are the two functions of the two policies and the two institutions.
Good.
Speaking of the central bank, one of the policies used in the U.S. and other countries is for the central bank to increase the interest rate. Basically, this encourages investors, people to put their money in the bank in hopes of a greater return on their money, and that helps the country's currency to appreciate. Do you think that is something that the Central Bank of Liberia could actually do, increase the rate and actually make good on that promise? Is that a plausible policy for Liberia?
Well, they have to look at the economic forces first. Like I explained, it is the role of the central bank to ensure that to prevent inflation. Increase the rate. There are times here in the United States you see the Fed increases the rate. And once they increase the rate, they give you a reason why. Sometimes they decrease the rate. They give you a reason why. And if you look at the Keynesian economics theory, it tells you about the money supply in the market, when to supply money and when to hold money. I mean, if government is involved, meaning if there is problem in the market, it is the government responsibility to the central bank to infuse money into the market to ensure that the market is stabilized. If there are too much money in the market, it's government responsibility to withhold that money so that the economy can also be stabilized. So the central bank is responsible for that. And if the CS6, that's why I don't see the central bank into this discussion. The economy is just the Ministry of Finance. They don't say anything. But you see in this country, you hear the Fed will make statements, but we don't hear any statement from the Central Bank of Liberia. We don't know why, but they need to get involved in ensuring about the stabilization of Liberia's economy. They must be involved. They must be particular. They must play that major role because it is their responsibility in addition to the Finance Ministry fiscal policy role.
So also we understand that the balance of trade is what can affect the appreciation or depreciation of a currency. So when we are importing more than we export, the currency tends to depreciate. How or what do you think Liberia can do in that aspect? Do we have the capacity to even begin to export more? Do you think that we can do more to basically produce more if we have the capacity and the financial means to?
So let me take you back 3 years when the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf government came in. B.F. Goodrich had left and the rubber farm plantation was there. That is what that government should have done, is to invest in that plantation. Make it a Liberian-owned plantation. All the money that we're borrowing, you can take $50, $60 million and invest it in that plantation. Once it's invested and we become part of that plantation, it becomes ours. Then we sell the idea to the international investors to come and become partners. Meaning we get 60%, but most of these things you don't see Liberia's percentage in there. That's one. You come to before the Civil War. We had a flour mill in Grand Bassa County, and we had a sugar mill in Maryland County. Where are those? Those things are gone. Can someone in government think that there is a need to resuscitate these things so that we can employ people? We're importing fufu. We're importing flour. When in fact we're producing those things right there. We're producing those things. We're importing sugar when we're doing that right there in Maryland County.
Yeah, Lipsuko.
Why can't we have? Huh?
You are saying Lipsuko.
Yeah, Lipsuko. Why can't we have sense? Why can't we pick up these things? These things will bring about employment. Our people will be employed. Why can people think this? Why don't you borrow money to put it into that investment? Put it into that. Invest into that, into those factories. See what happened to the glass factory in Ghana's Bay. We're producing glass. We're making coconut bottles. We're making other glass bottles. What happened to that? It's gone. Can we think that we need to resuscitate these things? Agriculture and Corporate Development Bank. Like I told you yesterday, that's one institution I think I can help resuscitate. We can resuscitate that. We empower the people through that bank. They can come with no investors, put their money there. But there is a way you can get international support and discuss with investors, and you can form a common ground. Agricultural Bank, you have all these marketers sitting there. There is a way you can invite the international community to assist. And you can talk with the marketers who have their money, investors who have their money, in how to handle it. And they will agree, they will come back to that bank. Free zone authority is another example. We got investors coming and signing contracts. You have this buildings, no thing. You can discuss with them, look, we have a place for you. You compete with other people who have houses or buildings. You compete with them, so we have a place, there's a place, we can give you, even though it's your own, but we can fix it. But that's how much we want from you. You get it? Yes. You pay rent at this rate until we pay you off and use it as an office space. These are things that government has to be thinking. We employ people, that will create employment for people. That's now, we're not seeing that.
So
we're bringing money.
Mr. Fallah, what is the issue? I mean, what is it that Mr. Fallah is seeing that the rest of the people in government are not looking at?
I don't know. I don't know. That's why sometimes we question whether, you see, there's a difference of a school. They have people who went to school and learned. They have people who went to school because they saw Mr. Fallah going to school. So they decided to go to school. They didn't learn, even though they have a degree. There's a difference between having a master's degree, a bachelor's degree, a PhD on the wall. But what you do with that is what counts. How many lives you touch, how many people you have changed. Simple thing as that. I don't know why they're not thinking in that direction. Say because of self-interest. Say because someone wants to pocket money. That's why when I spoke in Maryland, I talked about de-traumatization of many of our people back home. There is no way you and I, Dennis, and your co-host, that we will ever look at that kind of country and see $2 million. Why the people are suffering $2 million? I mean, there is some psychological problem. Somebody needs to be de-traumatized. We need to send some people to catering mills so they can be taken care of. Something is wrong. Right. Not only that, nobody will just sit and just do, sometimes you wonder what are these people learn, and they come from here. They are from here, most of them, and most of them are there.
If you are just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia. We are discussing the Liberian economy with specifically the financial sector. Our guest tonight is Mr. Austin Fallah. He has 5 master's degrees and he's working on 2 more. And my co-host, Danielle Knuckles, is from a remote location. Danielle is traveling this week, so she's remotely co-hosting. Mr. Fallah, a few days ago, there are students from the Student Unification Party at the University of Liberia were demonstrating. What they were protesting for was against the rise in prices of basic commodities, including food, gas, and so forth. So in their chant, they said those prices should come down. They want an intervention from the government for these prices to come down. What can the government do? Or did the students have a point? And what can the government do to bring down prices?
In a democratic nation like, we are striving towards democracy. We have a semblance of democracy. We don't have democracy in Liberia. But in that semblance of democracy that we have, people have the right to protest and call on their government to do something better to improve their lives. The students have the right to demonstrate. But one thing I didn't see is what suggestions that they make. Most of them are students of economics. So they talk to the University of Minnesota Economics Department. It's one of the best departments that I know about because I'm a student of economics and I went through that institution or that particular department. It's one of the best. They have the best brains, some of the best brains within the university. You need to talk to them to see what their demonstration, what are they going to present to the government as an alternative. Okay, this is what we're demonstrating, this is the alternative. This is what we're suggesting to you to improve what we are talking about. But I didn't see that. But they have the right to demonstrate and call on their government to ensure that that their lives are made better and not bringing hardship upon them. And government can do that by maybe asking for suggestions that we're discussing now. I hope they will listen to some of the things we said. If they create these jobs or create these institutions that have been that are looking dilapidated for now, and they will create more jobs, and the economy will improve, and some of those things will drop. I mean, we'll have more foreign currency. Once we have more foreign currency, we're able to import more goods. Then we can regulate the price. Commerce can come in, then we'll start to regulate the price. But you don't have money to give to John Brown to bring in gasoline. John Brown hustle and that money, his interest rate is high. He purchasing US dollar at a high rate, I think 100 and some more and change. 100, I don't know, 115, 120, 130, I don't know. Just imagine that. He buys that, he carries, he comes. He has to make profit. So you can't tell him, say, reduce the price at this level when he cannot. When you reduce it to that price, he will not even make profit, or whatever, his capital will not even come out. So it's a good thing. So government need to start thinking beyond just talking about only payment of salaries, or say we were building of roads. So we don't know whether roads is a priority now, but I know it will come in your question. I will discuss that later on. But we don't know what our role is a priority now. But if I were the president or the minister of finance or in that government, I would have suggested to the president something totally different.
All right. Go ahead, Danielle.
I guess my question is, in a capitalist society, what can a government really do to reduce prices of commodities? Especially commodities that are imported?
Well, if you don't have the financial backing to back the business people, you can't just say, I will bring the price down. It can't happen. So first of all, government must be able to provide a revenue that is needed by these institutions to import goods, stabilize the economy where people can go to the Central Bank of Liberia. I don't know whether they have changed that law, they get 1-to-1 parity. If that is still there, then I'm surprised why it stay there and why the economies at that place are still keeping it there. Maybe in the future, they are thinking about changing the whole Liberian currency into United States dollars. I don't know, because that would be the worst decision ever to be made by any government. So they need to, first of all, ensure that they have foreign exchange to give to businesses to import goods, but they don't have it. How will you tell someone to reduce his price when he's buying the currency at a higher rate? On humanitarian ground, the president may say, yes, okay, I may lose maybe 1 cent or 2 cents or 3 cents, but I'm not going to lose $300. And they'll be right. Say, look at my statement, my income statement. See my expenditure, see my revenue, see where I borrow from. So you look at that, you say, but there's no way the man can bring his price down. The only way that can happen is for government to get involved by providing the needed revenue. And like I said before, you cannot just have a portion of the country getting US and a portion getting Liberian dollars. No. I serve as the Assistant Commissioner of the Motor Vehicle Division of the Ministry of Finance. Let me give you an example. During my tenure, I'm the one who introduced United States dollars to payment of how they call it, of lesson plates and driver lesson in US dollars. I introduced it as Minister of Finance. I made a suggestion in a staff meeting, and it was brought by Mr. Sididi. And it came down, it rolled down. And it was agreed upon by the late Mr. Neal, who was the Deputy Minister of Finance. And it came down to the Assistant Minister of Finance. They said it was a brilliant idea. Because government was importing the lesson plates and dollars in United States dollars. When we issued the plate, we gave them the same price in LD. We're losing revenue. So I said, you know what? Let's revisit this. We tell them, we give them the equivalent of the US dollar into Liberian dollar. You can pay US dollar or you pay Liberian dollar equivalent. That's how I introduced that. And you see what is happening. Government is generating revenue. They took the motor vehicle division from the Ministry of Finance and put it under the Ministry of Transport after I left. But if I were there, it would have been a battle because the motor vehicle division is a revenue generating arm, and no institutions will generate revenue, only revenue. Or you create, like I think they have that service centers now around where the Ministry of Finance staff will be in there. You do all your inspection, you can go ahead and do your inspection, but the payment has to be done to the Ministry of Finance and not the Ministry of Transport. If that method is followed, we'll do better in our country. Provide revenue to the people, meaning the business people, so that they can bring in goods. Once they bring in goods, then the Ministry of Commerce can regulate the price.
All right. Mr. Fallah, we have some questions on Facebook. And if you are just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia. We are discussing the Liberian economy. You can also call in. Our number is 678-263-8804. Or you can post your comments on Facebook. This question is from Mr. J. Nambeslaw. He's asking, should exporters surrender any % of their profits to help generate foreign exchange?
When he says surrender, I don't know what he means. Once it's legal, it's within the revenue and finance tax law. Yes, they have to do that. But if you say surrender, that is a term that economists will not always use. So we're not going to say surrender. But if we can negotiate with them and see, I know Mr. Nambeslaw is a lawmaker, and he showed that that is passed into law. Yes, if it is a law, if it is legal, they have to do that. They will do it. Or if it is not legal, well, they can do that based on humanitarian grounds.
All right. There's another question that is coming online. I will call out your name and where you're calling from. Okay, we will go back to caller when you are ready, please. Call in. All right. Okay. What Ms. Honorable Slaw was talking about, I think he believed those who are exporting, whether they should give certain portion, because I think there has been a bill that was sponsored about people banking their foreign currency in Liberia, so there will be a foreign exchange. I think it is along those lines that Mr. Slaw is asking if exporters too can give certain portion or pay some of these monies in foreign currency so that can generate some foreign exchange.
As long as you are doing your business in Liberia is being done in United States dollars, I think your taxes should be US dollars. I suggested that to the Minister of Finance, CDB, in a staff meeting. Once you earn United States dollars, your taxes must be in United States dollars because you're earning foreign exchange. That will be right. As long as there are any US dollars, they must pay US dollars. Like I did with the motor vehicle. Some people are earning United States dollars. Logging companies were made to pay US dollars. We're not accepting local currency. Complete US dollar. Logging companies, Firestone, other companies were made to pay United States dollars, and they paid it. I enforced that when I was there. The youngest commissioner ever in the history of the Ministry of Finance at the time. And that was enforced.
Another question on Facebook from Mr. John Bindi. He said, one strategic economic method of reducing prices at this time is to reduce tariffs on basic goods and services. Your comment, sir.
I agree with him. This is the time for this government to show that it's truly a pro-poor government in the best interest of the people, particularly reducing tariff on food, very, very low on food, building materials, so our people can start reconstruction and start reconstructing their lives, their homes, clothes so that they can look very good. You drive, people tell me you drive outside of Monrovia, you see how our people look. We need to reduce those things so that those goods can reach them. Government must take action because government says a pro-poor government. So pro-poor means you have to provide for the people. And how do you provide for them is to give them the necessities of life. Make it decent for them, make it affordable for them, not hard for them. Government has to take some of the burden. We understand we reduce this. But we'll tell you how much you will sell it. Government will reduce it to this. We'll tell you, okay, bag of rice, let's say you bring in bag of rice. You're supposed to pay, example, it's just an example. You're supposed to pay $5 on each bag of rice. Now government will say, you know what, yeah, we will reduce it. You'll pay $3. We'll waive the $2, but you will have to reduce your price of rice to this amount. To this amount. If the rice is $10, we know you have to make some profit. We'll say, you know what, someone waiving the $2, you have to reduce your rice price to $8 or $7 or $5. Government has to take some of the burdens too. It's a pro-poor government.
Okay.
Like I said, that government is our government. When I say our government, we were born in the 60s. Those of us born, some of us born in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s, and some in the 90s. It is our government. We have someone who was born between that time. Those born before us who came to power destroy us. Ellen Johnson is one of them. She came to finish it, to destroy us, to bring us down all the way. But that could not happen. And that will not happen in the name of our Lord and Savior. It will never happen, Jesus Christ. It will never happen. What she did to that country, she will pay. She will pay. After getting almost $16 billion, no development, nothing, that those institutions are named could not be resuscitated. But rather to involve in your government, involved in corruption, and you blame, you scatter yourself, this government is corrupt, my government is corrupt. And people steal money and say, I take responsibility. No. If you take responsibility, then the law must hold you. Restitute the money. Bring it back, say you took responsibility.
All right.
That's what needs to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's shift gear a bit to about loans. I know the new government has taken us on loans. I know this in some quarter there has been some controversy regarding that. So before we even start to discuss that, just walk us through the process on how a government will obtain a loan. What are the processes and how, and also why will government want to get a loan?
The first thing is, let me tell you why should government borrow. There are several reasons, but my economic school of thought, my institution taught me about 5 different reasons. There are many more than that. Government can borrow based on recession. Government can borrow to increase spending. Government can borrow in the event of war. And government can borrow when it's for financial or public sector investment. I mean, they want to invest into the public. I explained to you about those institutions, and less politically damaging than raising tax. So government can borrow if they feel that borrowing will not destroy the government or will not bring about people getting into demonstration. Then borrowing is better, because if you increase taxes, people, Liberia, we already like that, burden will be too high on our people. So borrowing is only option I see for our government now. So those are the 5 reasons, and why government borrow. And the process is like any other borrowing institution. They get their policy, they get their guidelines that one must follow. The IMF will look at a lot of factors: your ability to pay, your GDP. They will look at your GDP and your human rights records. What do you have, and the beneficiaries? That is for IMF, World Bank, and other internationally known financial institutions. But for banks, they look at the same thing: your ability to pay, but they not go into human rights and other things. But your ability to pay and they look at documents to show the investment, whatever you put into is for individuals. I think it's the same thing, the same process that must be followed.
All right, so let walk us through the government current loan. I understand there's a government took two major loans that we know about. Please shed light on those loans, what it's going to be used for, and who is the lender, the co-signer, and guarantor, and all that information, if you can share with us.
You see, the reasons I give which governments can borrow, I think there's no way of generating any money to build roads and other things. So the government borrow money to build roads, which is good. But the question is the road now if the first priority? Is that what the Liberian people need? When in fact they are hungry, they don't have food to eat. You look at the mobile situation, moving from one point to another, so congested, and the kind of vehicles we have in the country. Those are, I know, baja, how they call them, and when there's breeze, it throws you down, or it can even go through water. So all of those factors government need to look at rather than going to talk about roads. We know roads are important at this time, but the first priority must be the people and how the people can survive. But I don't know why government decided to go that way. But looking at the loan, I have not seen a full disclosure of the document. I have not seen the full disclosure of the document to see who was the guarantor. But what we saw online is that government borrowed money to build roads, and it was signed into law. The president and the vice president all attested their signatures to those loans. But the full disclosure, what our due diligence was done, that full disclosure is not available to us. So the only thing I can say that the priority now, there's a misstep in government priority for now. They need to focus on the welfare of the people, not the roads. Roads will come, we know, very important, want to connect. Why you connect road when people are hungry? How will they work? They can't go there. But when they eat, they have food. Now you tell them want to build roads, come and join, they will join. They will come and help, but they're hungry. How will they travel? They don't have food.
I think that's
children are being raped.
I think that's a long-term impact instead of just short-term.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what.
That's long-term. So the priority should be first. The first short-term impact should be first priority, not the long-term. Feed the people, make sure that they are okay. That's why they voted for you. Then you move into the next step. I mean, the next step would be the long-term building of roads. This is what we want. This is the feasibility studies. Like here, United States, before you put road, you go to the people, you have to discuss with them. They must agree. There's the road, they see the plan. And they ask you where the money coming from. You discuss with them where the money comes. If they say yes, we'll pay for it, and because Liberia's going to pay for that loan through taxes. Now you agree, they put 2 cents or 3 cents on each tax, income tax, or the other taxes. They add little money, and that amount will go towards the payment of those loans. But I don't see that. I want to say I have not seen the full disclosure of the document, so I cannot speak to that fully. So we cannot say government is wrong, government is this. No, but based on my own opinion, I think there's a little misstep making that a priority. That's my opinion. I may be wrong, but that's my opinion. Thank you.
So my understanding of why the government chose to focus on roads at this moment is to help generate movement of the people, so that way people who are farming can actually bring their goods to the market, and also bring it to the market in a timely manner before it spoils. So they're hoping to help boost the economy with the creation of these roads. That being said, do you see that as a means of them also being able to pay back the loan? Because that's a concern. When you borrow money, the next thing is, well, how am I going to pay it back? So do you think that's a feasible plan, that maybe there's increased economic activity because of the roads, and through that maybe increased taxes on income? I mean,
so let's look at, do we actually pay taxes in Liberia? No, we pay taxes, but we don't actually pay what is required by law in Liberia, because everything that is taxable is not being paid. You get to the red light, you see how people selling that, they don't pay here. If you go to a farmer's market, before you take a seat, you have to register, you have to pay something, and that thing is given to the government. So you pay for a spot, and either the city government receive that, or the county government receive that. That's what we do here in Minnesota. I'm speaking about Minnesota. So outside of here, in Liberia, we don't pay taxes. But it's a good thing to build the roads. Like I said, I've not seen a full disclosure. If government is saying that it is to help the farmers to bring their goods to the open market, that's a good decision. But is that a priority now? That's the question. Is that a priority? The priority now is what? Feeding the people. Feeding the people. You saw the students demonstrating. Prices have gone up. So take care of that first. If that is stabilized, if the central bank, the Central Bank of Liberia can stabilize the economy at that point, then we can move forward. We can move forward. But if it is not stabilized and you jump into that project, well, looking at our country, maybe they may not demonstrate accept it and live with it, because the country is not yet sophisticated to that level to see things beyond the scope of Liberia. That certain things, before they happen, we must get involved. If the citizens are not involved, it cannot happen. It cannot go there. So you see here, before taxes are raised, people are called. That's why we want to do it. People have to raise, let's say, a house tax here. The people I call, they are discussed. This is the reason, because we want to build schools, we want to build this, we want to modernize this, we want to modernize that. Then they vote upon it. They call them and say, yes, we agree. Their honorables vote upon it. And once they vote upon it, they pass into law, then it's increased. But that is not happening in Liberia. We just have one government sitting in Monrovia making a decision for everybody, which is good based on our own setting. But we have to get the people involved in the decision-making process.
Mr. Fallah, there's a question on Facebook from Mr. Josh Dolo. He's asking, he said, how do we make the Liberian currency stronger to be able to compete on a global scale?
You want to know what? I didn't hear that correctly.
How do we make the Liberian currency stronger to be able to compete on a global scale?
First of all, government has to take control of the economy. And for us to compete, we must be able to export. If you cannot export, you cannot compete. Because export brings in what? Foreign exchange. And once you have a reserve, then you can compete on the international market. Like I said, those little institutions, the flour mill right there in Gambassa, we cannot resuscitate that. We can look at $20 million and put it into that and resuscitate that. We cannot go to the sugar company and resuscitate that. We cannot come right to Ghana's right there at the Ghana Stephen Tarbell Estate. There was Martin's factory. We can't do that. Market Field was right there. We can't do that. We got shoes factory, always where the grace code is to fix. We can't resuscitate that. We have the rubber, we have those things. Can we do those biscuit factories right there? Can we resuscitate that?
And that will call for investment, right? So Sando Kana is asking, how would investors come to a country with one of the highest energy costs?
These are the things that are reduced. Once you have foreign exchange coming, because we're paying for gasoline, fuel oil to run the terminals that produce electricity. Once we have these things running and we have foreign exchange, we can do our own thing. Look, like refinery. We were refining our own fuel oil. Countries around us used to bring their crude oil and to us, then we refine it. We refine all of those gasoline that we used to do it. Those are institutions we need to resuscitate. We don't want to just have tanks sitting outside when we put in fuel oil and gasoline to reserve them. If we have the foreign exchange, we can invest the foreign exchange in these things. Then investors will see that we're serious. If you walk to someone and say, look, I have a company here I want to resuscitate, but I need this amount. The man says, okay, let's see how much the flour mill, let's see what, flour mill, okay, we'll produce some money. We'll loan you 20 million. You come in, 20 million, you say, okay, we want shareholders. You start bringing investors, then you use local people because we have to get involved. You start selling shares to the local people. The people will buy shares. Once they have a sense of belonging into our institution, they will take care of our institution. If someone has 10% share, 5%, 2%, whatever share they have in that thing, our traditional people in Buchanan, for example, right there in Buchanan. You think they'll set up for John Brown to steal, they say, no, you got the end, you say that John Brown steal the money at the end when we distributing, when we're giving out the dividend, you will get small money. They say, no, it's not going to happen. We'll check on you and make sure that you do not steal the flour, you do not steal the sugarcane. And we have to learn from, we have to negotiate with Argentina or Brazil. See what they're doing with cane, sugar cane now. After they take out the juice, it's used for electricity, to generate electricity. That could be there could be a power plant right there in Maryland County that could take care of Maryland, Grand Cru, Sino, and maybe Grand Gita. Maybe Grand Gita. The peeling of the cassava, that peeling, when you look at the skin of the cassava, that is used for a lot of other things. We can use that too. It's not only making the flour, but the peeling makes something else. We do the research. We just need people with vision. The economy of Liberia must be the economy of Liberia in Liberia. The economy of Liberia cannot be in the United States. The economy of Liberia cannot be in the European Union. The economy of Liberia cannot be in Asia. It has to be in Liberia and done by Liberians. Asians took care of their own economy. Europeans took care of their own economy. They were sincere to themselves. That's why they are top today. Look at Liberia and Japan. Look at Liberia and China. In the 60s, see who we are. We are one of the top. Our GDP was very top. But what we are today is the question. Look right there, Rwanda. They went through the same genocide we went through. But see where they are today. It is about sincerity on the part of leadership. If the leadership is sincere, then the nation will move forward. These little things need to be, the president must think about it. So, you know what, let me resuscitate these little things so that the poor have something to do. They will have somewhere to go for work. They will have something to earn on. Let me help. Let me bring back Martin factory. Let me bring back that sugar mill factory. Let me bring out a flour place. Let me bring out this chicken soup factory. They battle the shoes place. Let me bring them back. Let me see. Let me put investment into this. Investors will see somebody people are serious. Let me come. Let me open the door. You got a small factory. I'll build a bigger factory. Then we'll start to negotiate. Or you know what? You only have the little, but I can make it bigger. Start to negotiate. Or you exporting a lot of raw rubber. You know what? I can turn that rubber into this right here locally. Few will get out, some will stay. Bowman & Company. Start discussing. Bowman is not coming back. Not everything you have to go to China. Government will put out some money and call investors to come. We take over that ourselves and see how best we can do it. See where Mana River could do the same thing. We just need leaders with vision, with ideas, and surround yourself with people who have the country at heart. That's what we need, and that's who we need in our country. Thank you.
All right, and you talk about that. Before, Liberia had the highest GDP. I think in the 70s, we had
in the 60s.
In the 60s. Well, also in 1972, our GDP went as high as 1,682 United States dollars. And Liberia was one time #1 producer of rubber until we lost it to Malaysia. What can we do to regain, that position?
Like I said, we can do all the talking. If we do not have visionary individuals, if our leader is not visionary, who does not see beyond the scope around him, but look at the horizon and see that our nation needs to be up there. Remember, we were one of the victims of hope for freedom when it comes to social justice, social freedom. We advocated. All of these African countries that you see today, we were one of those who advocated for their freedom. We were the safety net or safety zone for them. We brought them home. One of them is Mr. James Keller, who came from Sudan to Liberia, sent him to school. Liberia sent him to school. Guy came to the year, got a master's, got back, and became an official of government. He became an official. Now he's gone back home.
All right.
He's working at the Ministry of Finance as one of the top persons.
Mr. Fallah, hold your thoughts. We got a caller from Liberia. Caller, your name and where you calling from?
My name is Jane Slaw. I'm calling from Monrovia.
Honorable Slaw, welcome to Focus on Liberia. Your question or comments, please.
Oh, I wanted to comment on the loan situation Mr. Fallah talked about, and to also expand on the surrender of portions of foreign exchange that he disagreed with. So I think that you start from there.
All right, go ahead.
Let me just clarify. I did not disagree with the surrender. What I'm saying is that it should be legal. It should be passed into law. It should not be based on humanitarian grounds. That's what I said. It should be made legal to surrender. I did not disagree. Thank you.
And that's, I did not say you were implying that it should be on humanitarian. In the mid-80s, the governor of Liberia introduced that particular word. It's not mine. The governor of Liberia at that time, if my memory serves me right, you were at the Ministry of Finance because I was also there. They had a 25% of foreign exchange surrender. All those who were exporting from this country, whatever your profit was, the total, say $100, you had to give 25% of that to the Liberian government, and they give you back that 25% in Liberian dollars. So it helped to provide foreign exchange for the government to help businesses that were importing goods for the government to be able to control the prices. I don't know how they got off the stands, but I agree with you. I don't know if it was an executive order, but I know the government introduced it. All logging companies, Lanco, all of these people were paying that. I still remember that.
Right.
Okay. Maybe we need to reintroduce it.
I mean,
yeah, I was looking to the.
That's true. Not export.
Let me comment. That's true.
They introduced that word, surrender.
Yeah.
I still remember that word, surrender.
Yeah. But you see, it was true. If you look at it, when you and I were, it was true. How do you call it? Administrative regulation. It did not become a law. If it were a law, but now so it was true an administrative regulation. Like I said, the motor vehicle tax that we passed, you were there. You know that it was true an administrative regulation. Mm-hmm. It was not a law. So if what I'm saying, if it becomes legal, you are a lawmaker. If you can see to it that is part and it becomes legal, then we should not appeal to people to do it. Let's make it legal. We'll start appealing. People will say, oh, they're not serious. Or make it legal. You will surrender 25% of your offshore earning. If you want to do business here, it's part of every agreement on enter. I will be part of that. It's a law. So if you can introduce that and make it a law, that would be good. But it was not a law. It was an administrative regulation.
I agree with you. I will give you a trial.
All right,
now, on the loan, I don't know if you know, there were two legislators who voted against the loan. Both of them was one of those. My reason was, I remember Mr. Jack, who is the guarantor. The guarantor in that thing is the big one, the 500 billion. The guarantor is the Central Bank of Liberia, which makes that a sovereign guarantee. It's the most risky anybody can get involved in. If you owe the IMF or any government, they will complain you all over the world until either they waive it or they get tired and sit down. But if you owe an individual, in this case, they garnish the central bank, and then you have no commercial banking activities when the central bank that should regulate commercial banking activities is garnished. There will be no Western Union and no, what the other one is?
MoneyGram.
They would not be operating because the central bank that regulates them would have been garnished by an individual through the court system. So that's one of the reasons why I voted against it. Because I know Liberia is too good at saying that we're going to run into a problem with saying that, and then we'll get to the road that I'm afraid of. I talked to a lot of lawyers who told me the road you are on is right. Sovereign guarantee is not a way to go with loan things. The purpose is good. Year after year, people keep, like right now, nobody can go to the Southeast. The speaker and I were supposed to go to the University of Maryland commencement. He was guest speaker, supposed to be guest speaker. We couldn't go because the road is completely cut out again. So you talk about prioritizing the food instead of the road. I respectfully beg to differ, especially if you were from the Southeast. You have to look for even your road is rotting right now. So I'm not saying that people should not eat, but the road situation is better year after year. If you come from Southeast, you feel sorry for us. So I just want them to take a loan that will not embarrass the country. Yes, China needs road, Maryland needs road, but we can't do it at the detriment of the country. Because if we take the loan now, we build road, then tomorrow morning this guy will go and garnish and then there's other reason why I voted against it. All the research behind this so-called Eton company, you can't find them anywhere. Now in the stock market, there's no website. One of my friends said no nothing. So where are they coming from? With that kind of amount of money. So we have these concerns, and at least I'm glad that I didn't go with the other people. I mean, they had some that agree with you, but they say, look, we need the money, we need the road. So because I need road, if you have headache and you take medication that will run your stomach, then you are not solving a problem. Okay? So the loan thing, yes, it went through right now. I don't know where the money is. I thought by now it will be here.
So Mr. Slow, what is the if since I have you?
Am I still on there?
Yes, you are on, Mr. Slow.
Hello.
Yeah, you are on, Mr. Slow.
So let me just.
Okay.
Go on, I think you'll call back.
Go ahead, Mr. Fallah.
Let me just, I never say I'm totally against the loan. Let me clarify here. I said that people need food. When we're talking about food, we're talking about reduction in tariffs and relaxing other taxes so that those commodities can come in and be distributed to the people. The loan is good because it will ease the transportation problem, but is that a priority now? Or can they work hand in hand? Can you reduce this and do this? I see the president asked the finance, the revenue department to to visit some of the commodities and release. But were there essential commodities? Were they those commodities that were reduced? Were they tariff were reduced on? Were they essential commodities? Were they? It's the question we're asking. Were they essential commodities? What the effect now on the people? If they were essential, college students will not be demonstrating because it will have an effect. People will not be calling to the rate will not go as high as I think 150. The rate will not go that high.
Mr. Fallah, there's a question from T. Welty Thompson. He said, feeding the people short-term initiative versus long-term initiative. Did you conduct a comparative analysis to ascertain the economies of long-term versus short-term initiatives?
Here we're talking about the benefit of the people. So yes, I did. We see it happening. Short-term benefit, long-term benefit. The student will never have demonstrated if the short-term benefits have any impact. But what the president did, the tariffs that were reduced on some of those commodities, where look at the people now. Are they benefiting? Are they benefiting directly? The tariff, the direct benefit to the people? No. The long-term benefit, which is the role, yes, like Mr. Slaw said, yes, it will benefit the people in the southeastern part of the country because they can only come to Monrovia. The roads are cut, like he gave an example. So that's the long term. That will benefit the people. If and only if the reason for which the money was requested or the reason for which that loan was signed will benefit the people. The people are the direct beneficiary. Yes, it will go to them through the roads. Thank you.
All right. I think Mr. Slaw is trying to come back. Danielle, all right. Danielle, go ahead while we bring Mr. Slaw back.
Okay, a caller just came in.
The people are the direct beneficiaries. Yes, it will go to them through the roads. Thank you. All right. I think Mr. Slaw is trying to come back. Danielle. All right.
Yes, I'm on.
Okay, Mr. Slaw, go on. I was asking you since and to those watching, Mr. Slaw is the representative of District 2 from Sino County. So glad that you called him. Mr. Slaw, with all the issues that you have expressed, what is the recourse as a lawmaker? What else do you do?
Well, I mean, you have only one vote. If you vote against anything and the majority carries it, it's gone. There's nothing you can do. You just wait and see.
That's the same thing I said. I hope
the suggestion Mr. Fallah made is good. Like I said, I'm going to draft in legislation as early as this week to require Firestone, Metal Steel, all those who export, so we can go back to what they need to do to raise money to help with the reduction of prices. I think we need to do that immediately.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for calling in. You can stay on if you have another question, but we are moving on.
Okay, and tomorrow we are having the House Committee on Information, which I chair. We'll be having a public hearing on decriminalizing free speech, where you criticize the president or you criticize the law, and then they charge you for libel and all of that. So there is a law that we're trying to work on to decriminalize, free speech. So we know people can sue you for whatever you say about them, but to charge people for, libel and all those things, we're trying to get rid of that.
So currently,
tomorrow at 10.
Are you saying currently?
Yeah, right now you cannot criticize. There are certain things you cannot say about the president of Liberia or other government officials.
Okay.
That's very good, Mr. Slaw. That's very good. You as a journalist, you know what it is. and that will be in the best interest of our nation and our people. We hope that
or the next day, either tomorrow or the next day, I will call the show with what we come out with. There's going to be a joint hearing of the Senate Committee on Information and the House Committee on Information. The President of Liberia, the Dean of the Louis Arthur Grants in Marijuana, so many civil society organizations will be there tomorrow to give their input so that we start this, the AP and all kinds of,
All right.
That's true. That's good. That's good, Mr. Slow. And thank you. And we would like to thank all other, the House side and the Senate side for doing that so that we can have an open democracy. That's what I said during my opening statement, that we have what called a semblance of democracy. We do not have a democracy. People can be talking about democracy. We have something called a semblance of democracy. We have something that resembles democracy until we can have all of those facets, open to the people, where people can speak freely, say anything, but being fully responsible.
Exactly, accountable.
But Fallah, before.
Oh, okay. We got disconnected. Mr. Fallah, let me go back to you. What are some of the indicators that our economy is either performing poorly or is doing good?
Yeah, you see that happening already. Already happening in our country. One, foreign exchange, very low, very, very low, very low. High cost of living, high unemployment rate. Those are things that will tell you that the economy is not doing well. If our economy were doing well, the students will not demonstrate to reduce gas price, food, rice, tomato, beta ball, chicken soup, pepper, etc., etc., etc. But we're not doing well. Our economy is not doing well. That's why they decided to call on the government to see what government can do. But did they make any suggestions? There where I tend to a little bit question them. It went out, that's good. But did they present any petition to anyone, say, this is what we are demonstrating. This is the suggestion that we are making to improve the economy. There's a new government. We understand, but they get a lot of educated people in it. So let the students put something together and present it. Let's see. And if the government does not do anything, then we can see what other legal course of action that is available to us as a people and as a nation against our government.
Mr. Fallah, one of the indicators of the poor economy stated was the high unemployment rate. What policies do you think can be put in place to help that, to help decrease the unemployment rate? Do you think that's something that the government can remedy?
See, thank you during your introduction. I'm a student of public policy. And as a student of public policy, one thing we learn is that we shift policy for the common good. Policies can be found on paper, but are they for the common good? Like I stated, in order to curtail the unemployment is to create what? Investment opportunities. Is to give incentives to people. Example here is Coca-Cola factory. Yeah. Please, when you help, we will help you in expanding your factory. We want to become part of it. This is our own investment. Can we expand it? Can another sub factory be built somewhere to help with the production of canned pop? We'll be part of it. Coca-Cola may say yes. Okay, you get a share in it. We'll buy a share because Coca-Cola is a public company. We'll buy, but this is what we are investors now. We're part of it. This is what we want to do. Yes. So we have to give incentives to institutions to expand. And we have to make sure that those things I talked about, matcha factory, battery factory, this factory, that factory, comes back We resuscitate them, we can get loans. Once we can justify what we're going to do with those loans, we want to build, we want to resuscitate this factory was here, it was taken away. We want to resuscitate this, we want to resuscitate that. We want to bring back the cooperatives in the county so that we can have a communal farm and that of individual farm where people will work here on this farm. And these farms, anything they produce, those things are sold and the profit comes back to benefit them. That's how this thing will work. And another thing is in the labor pattern of economic growth. I wrote on that before, I had a press release on that, is the way forward in Liberia. It's by empowering the people. The labor pattern of economic growth is what government need to take. It's by empowering the people, getting the people involved into their labor market, into what affects them as a people, as a nation.
All right.
But if that is not done, then we'll continue to be where we are.
We have another caller on the line. Okay, let's start. I understand Representative Slaw is the one on the line. He's back on the line. Representative Slaw, your final comment so we can go to our next caller. Mr. Slaw, are you there? Mr. Prince Williams is also on the call. Is also on the Prince or Mr. Slaw, are you there? Please, your question or comment. All right, we go back on our Facebook page. We see there are still questions here.
Before you ask that question, Mr. Fallah, you mentioned helping to encourage investment as a means of helping to reduce the unemployment rate. At the beginning of the year, the president in his State of the Nation address stated his desire for us to amend the Constitution and open up citizenship to people of all backgrounds. And he said that would be a means of encouraging investment. Do you believe the same? Do you think that that would help with investment?
Oh yeah, that will help. But one thing I must say, I'm a Liberian. I would die a Liberian. My neighbor's stream was buried in bone mines where I was born. Nobody can ever take that from me. That is my constitutional right. And nobody can take that from me. Some of us left because of tension in the country. And we've come abroad and we have advanced ourselves. So nobody will go back to Liberia and tell me, the Kisi man, that I'm not a Liberian. Where my neighbor's stream, my father has a house in Bong Mines. My mother has houses in Monrovia and in Cotton Tree, where she was buried. So, and my grandparents have houses in Foya, where my father came from and where my mother also came from. So we have to understand that nobody will stop me. I will be going to Liberia, hopefully very soon. So under the Constitution, say all of those who are lawful citizens of Liberia in the 1986 Constitution remain Liberians. Remember, that's 1974 law. When the People's Redemption Council came to power, all of those things were what? Scratched. They are no more law. People, I don't know what people giving headache to that. There are no more laws. Those things died in 1980. April 12th, they all died. All of them were suspended and abolished and done with. So we came out with a new constitution. Everything now is new. I was born there. Why you say I'm not? It can't happen. I'm a Liberian, and I would die as one. Dennis, you're a Liberian. You die as one. You were born there. Your neighbor's is there. People force you out of that. So you came and you qualify yourself. Then people say you can't go back. It can't happen. It will not happen. It will never ever happen.
Mr. Prince.
Thank you.
Mr. Prince, Berchia Williams says, The reduction of taxes is unsustainable given the current recurrent expenditure of government. What will help is a drastic reduction in government wage bills. Senators and representatives need to reduce their salaries and do away with unattainable benefits. Your comments?
That's true. That's another way to improve the economy. It's to reduce the salary of those whose salaries are very high. But remember, the national legislature, they set the salary. They set their own salary. The president does not have right to reduce theirs. He has the right to order civil servants and other political appointees, but not the national legislature. And we need to petition them and tell them this is what we need you guys to do because we elected you.
Yeah, and luckily
so
we got
that
floor on, so you can answer to that.
Yeah, yeah. So there's nothing we can do. They have to decide.
We got a caller on the line. I'm not sure who. Caller, your name and where you calling from? Okay, that looks like Liberia.
Yeah, so that brother is very right.
Okay, Mr. Slow, are you there?
I'm here.
All right, we are about to draw down the curtains. Your final comments before we take leave of you. Or question.
All right, I just wanted to find out from Brother Fallah if hello?
Yes, we hear you. Go ahead.
Still here.
Go ahead.
All right. Brother Fallah talked about the resuscitation of businesses that once provided jobs and contributed to the economy. I wanted to find out from him if he had any idea on what the reactivation of the Liberia Free Zone Authority will do for our economy. That's one. And then somebody suggested reduction of salaries, and as usual, they pointed out the legislature. The legislature has had no problem reducing salaries, but there is a myth in and out of the country about salaries of legislators being too high. I know people in the Ministry of Finance at very low levels who make more than legislators. I have suggested on radio, in newspapers, let's put every salary in the newspaper, including the president, the representatives, the senators, and everybody. If we know where they stand, then we know where to cut. But nobody should go down somewhere and think that representatives or officers are making more than somebody else. Let's publish all the salaries. Public official salaries should not be secret. In America, I can Google the president's salary, the representative senator's salary. The same thing should be done in Liberia. I've said it over and over. I'm tired of saying it on the national radio everywhere. Don't point at just one person and say, reduce his salary. Let's publish the president's salary. Let's publish the vice president and every other person, the cabinet. There are people in the Ministry of Finance calling themselves consultants. They make more than even vice president. All right? So that's why I think we should look at this reduction of salary if it is the problem. I have announced my salary. I fell in trouble for that. My colleagues thought I should not do that. But again, my salary is not business. I can tell you any day. I make $10,000, and that $10,000 includes gasoline. I make $8,000, and then $2,000 in gasoline. The total is $10,000. It's not secret. I've published it over and over. Maybe I'll fall in trouble again. If that is too much for a representative, then let's publish all. If there's too much to ask for, publish the president's salary. Publish everybody's own, so the public will know where salaries are high. And I don't even think reducing salaries will solve the economic problems that we are having here.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you very much. If you Google, that's a good idea, very good idea to make public employees because they are paid by the public to know their salary. Well, the press can request for that. I think they get something they call the Public Information Act. I don't know whether they will make it available, but that's a good idea to make available public employee salaries and their positions and the description of positions. Let's say if you are an accountant, your salary is between $2 and $3. Example, $2 and $30,000 and $40,000. This is the hourly rate between $10 and $20. These are the functions. So when you Google it, you may not actually see Austin Fallah's salary, but you have an idea. If you want to get Austin Fallah's direct salary, you have to go to his employer or do the Freedom Information Act, and you can make that available. But that would be a very good idea, Honorable, if the government of Liberia will implement that. Now, let me answer your question on the Free Zone Authority. Like I said, a lot of investors coming and going to private places to rent. We could become competitors in a free zone. We have a lot of buildings there that are in enter an agreement. We have a space here. We want you to renovate it, or we want you to give us the money to renovate it. This is the cost. You will live in it, or you will come and have your offices in it until this time. So you will be paying, if it's $5,000 a month, you'll give us $3,000, $2,000 will go towards that money, towards what we took from you, or towards for the mortgage or whatever, mortgage payment.
All right.
That's how we do. So that will help us to employ people to take care of those buildings. They'll be renovating those buildings. We hiring people, cutting of grass, that will be the responsibility of free zone. We will pay people to do that. We'll hire people. Security of free zone will be there. We'll provide security. And these companies will contribute towards payment of security because they're not only just renting, but they want security. So we'll provide security. We are hiring people. So all of those will be contributing towards the economy of Liberia. Thank you.
Thank you. We have another caller on the line, and we are about to draw down the curtains. Caller, your name and where you're calling from. All right. I don't think we have the caller anymore, but feel free to interrupt me anytime you are on. All right. Let me see if we have more. Someone posted and said, Letitia Brooks said the president's salary is $400,000. So
okay,
you can.
Okay. I can speak to that. I don't know where where she got that information from. The president's salary is $400,000 Liberian dollars or United States dollars.
She said United States dollars.
Okay.
But let's begin to wrap up on this. Let me go back to you, Danielle. I see Danielle, you've gone back to Liberia, and I just want to mention too that Danielle's a Liberian born in New York, and so let me first hear your final comments on the economy based on what we've discussed so far, and you two being MBA. What's up with the Liberian economy?
Well, so for me, when it comes to finances, I'm very conservative. So when I see such a huge loan being taken out, my question is, how are we going to repay the loan? Sometimes, some people are risk takers and they say, the country needs this. It's a necessary evil. But then my concern still is, how can we pay it back? Would this loan then push us into further debt? Will it hurt our chances of getting money again from places like the IMF or the World Bank or the European Union?
No water.
So
no water.
There's a little concern about the amount of the loan, and how we are going to repay it. Also, in terms of the economy for the currency, I definitely support us using more Liberian dollar. As Mr. Fallah said, we have to appreciate our own thing. So I think it should be across the board, LD used everywhere. If you want to do business in Liberia, you buy our currency, and that's what you use. Also, in terms of unemployment and getting investors to come into the country, I think the government can do a little more just to make it easier for businesses to come in. Especially, I think businesses started by those in the diaspora, Liberians who, had to move away their children. There are many of us who want to come and want to help.
And Danielle, hold your thought. Let's get Prince on the line. He's been waiting for so long.
Okay.
Prince, you are on air.
Yes, hello, I'm here. How you doing?
I'm great. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Tennessee in the United States.
All right, your question or comments, please. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thank you so much, and I appreciate your platform. I just, since we're talking about the economy and as it relates to our country, I'd just like to comment on that. What is happening in our country is nothing uncommon, and for me, for the better choice of words, I think we are having an economic downturn, and we are having this economic downturn because of the current, the former leadership. And I will blame it more or less on the former leadership of Eddie Johnson Sirleaf, because this issue have seen this coming, because our economy was based on basically on other factors like the United Nations, the UNMIL, all the other foreign agencies that were operating at the time, and that's why we're keeping our economy afloat, because there was now good monetary policy or fiscal policy that were helping. So in essence, we were having a facade of a growing economy, and any economists would have known better, would have known that if these factors are ejected from within in the dynamics of the economy, we will definitely have an economic downturn if possible. And if possible, if we not be careful how to correct that downturn, it could go into an economic recession. And that is what's happening right now. And Ellen Johnson Sirleaf's administration is to blame, because what's going on right now in this, I know people trying to say blame the current administration. Yeah, I blame them, because they have the helm of leadership now. They should employ the right people to put them in places that will make the hard choices to be able to mitigate these circumstances regarding the economy. I will give you a point of reference. You see, when President Barack Obama took over just in 2008, the American economy was having a downward path. But President Obama employed people who knew what they were doing, and they made hard choices. Some of the choices they made were difficult choices. They had to basically hold their breath under the water for building the banks and things, because if the banks have failed, a lot of people, investment would have been affected, although the bank was the problem. So it's the same thing happening in Liberia now. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and her, in her administration, she was an economist. She has seen this coming, and she has put in places factors that would have helped, but she didn't. Now, Obama inherited this, President Weah. But the only mistake President Weah is making, he's not having the people who are qualified, who knows what they're doing to help. And I feel that my suggestion is President Weah needs to rethink and revisit the people he got around him that employ into this key position. And bringing brains to think about it. And one of the best ways to start, first and foremost, is to first, if we look at the way the government will wages bill. The government is spending so much money, 60% of the revenue is going to be spent on recurring expenditure. It's not rocket science. You can't afford it, don't buy it. If you can't afford it, don't pay for it. The government needs to, first of all, the Senate, the representative needs to be real honest with the Liberian people, reduce their salary, drastically reduce it. do austerity measures. I mean, some people say, oh, they should reduce taxes. And if you do that, it's going to be more trouble because the reduction in taxes will not help, will not be sustainable for a kind of a wage base we are carrying right now. What they need to do is start with him, clean house. The president needs to start cleaning house for himself, cutting down unnecessary expenditure, giving benefit and things to people, giving people's phone card here, buying newspaper for people, gassing people cars, buying cars for people. They really need to start to get rid of all of those things and have a functional government. A functional government is technocrats come to take care of their own business. You pay them the wages, the salary, they live on the salary and the wages. All those benefits are unnecessary. And that's what we need to go. That's how we need to start. If President Weah does that, then he can mitigate the current economic downturn that is taking place. If he does not do those things, I'm telling you, we're going to go into a recession. And the recession, yeah, they're going to blame on President Weah because President Weah in power now. But it will be a position of the former leadership. And then my final question, after that comment, I'd like to ask a question. I think the honorable member on here, and I just want to ask him regarding the loan. I heard that the loan is being revisited or reconsidered or restructured. I don't know what if that is true. But if that is true, would that loan be re-rectified as well? If it be revisited and things be put in there that was not in the former agreement, would that also be revisited? Having said that, I think the best way to start, President Weah first forward was to fight corruption, and the first way to do it was a declaration of assets to set the premise for which we can battle corruption so that it can mitigate our current economic circumstances. I think that's the way to go, and that's my opinion. And I appreciate you for your platform.
Thank you so much for your contribution. And Mr. Fallah, you can you can respond to Prince.
Let me first address that he said that the reduction in taxes will not help, and I don't see that as being true, because to induce economic growth, you must include infrastructure spending, deregulation, tax cuts, and tax rebates. So that form in the Obama administration, those were some of the factors that they put together that caused the economy to grow. They started doing some loaning out too by loaning these banks. Like I said, same thing we can do in our country. These little institutions that are dilapidated now can be resuscitated. We investing into them so that they can bring out what good for us, meaning bring in revenue, resuscitate, get back to these institutions. Take money, we'll put $10 million in battery factory. The resuscitate that will take 10 million in chicken factory. We'll put another 10 million into a market factory, into the sugar mill company, into the flour company, and into the glass factory. These are institutions that the government can resuscitate and will bring in foreign exchange.
All right.
We bring in foreign exchange, and government, those institutions will pay back. But I don't know what people they're thinking, like the way some of us thinking. I don't know. But we hope that we just wish the best for our country, and we wish all the best. That's all we can say. And we wish the government and the president the best, so that he makes the best decision that will move our country forward.
Thank you so much. And if you are just joining us, we are about to conclude our discussion on the Liberian economy and especially the financial sector. Our guest has been Mr. Austin Fallah. He's joining us via phone from the state of Minnesota. And Mr. Fallah, before we wrap up, we just want to hear your final comments or your thoughts.
Well, I'm very thankful for the invitation. I hope I have made my own contribution towards the socio-economic well-being of our nation, Liberia. And we wish the government and people all the best. And I hope that the government will listen to some of these recordings and make sense out of them and help our people. They are suffering. They need help. The building of the roads, very good. But there's a need that we reduce tariff on some of the essential goods for our people again. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Danielle, any final thoughts?
You know, we're hoping things get better. Another observation I made while in Liberia, I guess I couldn't understand how we import rice. And, you know, even though I was born here, I'm a strong rice eater. I grew up in a Liberian family, so I understand how important rice is to us. But with all of the land, especially undeveloped land that we have in Liberia, I don't understand how we can't grow enough food for ourselves.
Right.
Land as we have, we're only about 4 million. We
Right.
can't grow enough food to sustain 4 million people.
And sorry to interrupt you again. I got a signal from my director here. Say we have one last caller on the line.
Okay.
So let's have this one last caller, and then we can conclude the discussion. Caller, your name and where you calling from? All right, the caller is McDonough Yanko. He's calling from Minnesota. McDonough, are you on the line? Okay, McDonough's hang up. Continue, Danielle, so we can wrap up.
Okay. I guess I'm hoping that we also invest in the farming agriculture sector. I think that would also help to reduce the imports, because Liberia is very blessed in that we have fertile land, and we have a definite rainy season, and we have a dry season. Some countries are praying for rain. We have the right conditions to be able to produce our own food. So just hoping that we also put more into the agriculture sector. I know the investment in the roads is somewhat related to that, you know, hoping that opening roads would allow for easier transportation of these goods. But that's just another way to help us reduce what we're importing and allow us to better our